Yo, 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 welcome to another edition of the Geeky Bros podcast. I'm your boy Tactics.
Yo, it's just Darcy here.
This is Big Geek Umar. How are y'all doing today?
Doing pretty good. Yeah, it's Friday. And it's been a big week.
It's been a big week. How you doing, T?
Pretty good. Yeah,
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. My phone was just going off for a second there. Excuse me. Unprofessional right there.
So, I figure we might as well jump in because we got a lot to cover in a very short amount of time. T, are you okay with me stealing your thunder?
Go for it, bro. Do your thing. What's on the agenda for today, Umar? Beat you to it. Ha ha.
Damn it! All right. So, first topic is Superman and Lois Lane. Sorry, Superman and Lois. The TV series has come back. It's went on a hiatus for like 3 weeks, and now it's back. We were left off on a bit of a cliffhanger, and then this episode was immediately after that. So I wanted to ask you guys, first of all, y'all watch it?
Yep.
Nah. Of course I watch it, bro.
Okay, so let's jump in and see what you guys thought. So Darcy, how about we start with you? What did you think of episode 12?
I'm still thinking about Loki so much that like I'm watching so many videos. I'm like, wait, what happened in episode 12? It was a good episode. There was first off, Diggle. Let's just start there, okay? Diggle. First off, like my immediate reaction was no, because it's connected to the rest of CW. And then my second emotion was, but if I could keep anybody from the Arrowverse, it would be Diggle. that was the transition of my emotions. And then I kept thinking, is he the Green Lantern right now? Is he gonna fight? And then he disappeared, and I was like, of course it's CW. He's not gonna be involved in this episode at all.
Hold on one second. Did Diggle get turned into the Green Lantern?
At the end of Arrow, he went outside. It was like an after credit scene, and there was like the Green Lantern ring fell outside of something, and he went and picked it up. And that was like, oh well. Yeah, so Umar, spoiler to the Arrow that you're not going to watch. There was a Green Lantern ring, and there was like a hint that he would become the Green Lantern, which is what everybody always wanted. So that's when he showed up in the show. I was like, wait, is this power that he's going to have to fight so strong that he's going to need the Green Lantern to help him? But part of me was just really sad that it's connected to the Arrowverse. so that's my first feeling. But overall, I like the episode. There were some emotional moments that got me into a couple of tears when after Clark, comes back from defeating the enemy and the family saw him. This is a weird little thing, but he did a perfect Henry Cavill scream. That it was like the things that they wanted to take from the Man of Steel franchise and make sure they kept in here that were like kind of iconic, even if they were small things that you just don't really think about. I'm like, yeah, that was perfect. Because if you didn't do at least that good, we probably would have compared it in the back of our minds, so, subconsciously. Overall it was pretty good. But I'm gonna slide it back to one of you guys. What do you guys think?
T, how about you take it next?
So yeah, Darcy, I share the same sentiment in regards to seeing Diggle. For a moment, I feel like I said, every time I watch this show, I always forget that it's on CW. So I'm watching the show, enjoying it as always, as usual, and then all of a sudden I see Diggle pop up, and I'm like, oh my fucking goodness, man, this motherfucker coming back. But then I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I was kind of on the same boat. I was like, okay, yeah, if there is anyone that I want to come back to come to this show from some of the other CW shows, it would be Diggle, because I feel like he was the most grounded character. Like he never came off cheesy in any of the other shows, or the CW shows.
Okay, the helmet though, but it's not his choice. But
yeah, that's not his fault. That's not his fault. But now with this Green Lantern transition, hopefully he can burn that shit. But but basically I didn't mind him coming back, but it only means that they're opening up the door for other characters to show up. And once Flash shows up in this show, I feel like it's it's gonna be a checkout for me. I'm gonna just be all the way out because I don't want to see Flash. I don't want to see Cisco. I don't want to see like anyone other than
Yeah.
Diggle, right?
When he mentioned Argus, I was like, Argus? That bullshit? Argus is the worst. It's like the worst
Agreed.
part of that universe.
100%. But yeah, no, I overall I liked the episode. I especially the scene where Jonathan is helping Jordan hone in on his powers. And I don't know, the way that it was shot and I guess the dynamic, it's not quite there, but like I started getting like vibes of like Jonathan, like Clark's dad, and then Jordan playing the role of Clark in that regard of like Jonathan's kind of trying to be like the father figure, although he's like the brother, and so it kind of gave me like a younger iteration of that. I kept seeing like a Smallville type of vibe, and like say what you will about Smallville, like that Jonathan Kent was
That was a
top
real
notch.
Jonathan Cat.
That yeah, like in comparison to all the other ones, that like he was top notch for me, and so I kept getting reminiscing moments of that and like having like really good scenes of their dynamic on Smallville whenever they would have their father son little dialogue there. And it was just kind of nice to see that brotherly bond because I keep expecting like Jonathan to be in this position where he's like jealous of his brother having superpowers and like that, like basically he had to give up everything, man. He lost his girlfriend. He's no longer the like star quarterback or whatever position he played when he was playing football in Metropolis. So
His brother broke his hand.
like yeah, so he's gotten the short end of the stick. So I feel like he's got a lot to be mad about, and he's been very chill about the whole situation. So I like that they're not kind of taking it in that direction where it's like, oh, I'm like the angry brother who's like all envious and shit, right? Because I think that trope has been played. But yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. I liked it overall. A little confused in terms of like what that end scene was with Morgan Edge. To my understanding, like did they bring back Zod, General Zod, and they tried to put him into
Superman.
So what? So is Zod now in Morgan Edge, or is that shit gone now? Is that done?
So I believe that what they're trying to do is they're setting up the Eradicator to take over Morgan Edge's body.
Interesting. So was the Eradicator? He's evil.
The Eradicator was in the comics like a foil, but at the same time also kind of worked with Superman. Basically, it was meant to maintain the heritage and culture of Krypton and was sent with like Kal-El, but it kind of started doing its own shit sometimes. And like when Superman died, it tried to like replace Superman by becoming one of the Supermen.
Wait a minute. So are they setting up the death and return of Superman? Because we have Steel now. We technically have a Superboy, and we have the Eradicator. So next is like Cyborg, right?
Yeah.
So is that what
Like-
is that what they're potentially setting up?
Possibly that could be season 2.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. I will say this. I like the Steel suit, but I just hope that they put a little bit more detail into the helmet.
Yeah.
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 It doesn't have a lot of personality, and I guess that's kind of weird to say considering that Steel is like he's wearing like a metallic suit kind of thing.
Metallic face.
Yeah. I would just want a little bit more detail in the helmet itself.
I don't love the steel suit, but I also respect it for what it is because for me right now, it's a Lex Luthor suit, right? And it very much reminds me of that green Luthor suit that he would always battle Superman in like Justice League Unlimited. But I kind of hope that he takes that tech. And then if he's going to be a continuing character who fights alongside Superman, that he or whatever you guys are alluding to for second season, that he upgrades it and it gets more of a steel vibe, like it matches the style of his hammer more because they're a little bit not the exact same aesthetic. So that's kind of where my hope would be, that it would just kind of go there a little bit. But yeah, it is what it is. But everything you guys are talking about though, like. I'm getting CW stink feels right now, and I'm getting a touch worried about where they might take this show. Like I'm just seeing all these opportunities for CW to come in and stink things up right now.
So, like, from my perspective, I was okay with this episode. I didn't love it. I thought it was all right. I hated everything to do with Lana and her family. I was like, I don't need this shit. And the fact that like the town is like
Yeah.
turned against like the husband, I'm like, okay, let's calm the hell down. Like, granted, you can completely understand that like small-minded, small-town people can become prejudicial very easily, but like when the Asian family was like yelling at them, it's like, technically speaking, he got taken over too. So like, just saying, he also tried to kill his own daughter. So just saying,
You know what that felt like. You know this. I'm gonna call this out 100%. It felt like reverse racism. Like the way it happened to their house. It just reminded me of like, oh yeah, it just felt like the shit that happens like to like black family get out of the town, but like done in reverse. And I was just like, I don't know. Shit feels forced. Like it escalated too fast.
exactly. It felt incredibly forced. Also, it kind of like buys into the fact of like it was just I hated all of it. So that was a complete drain on the episode. When it came to like Superman and his stuff, like I found it actually interesting that they tried to put Zod in Superman and he's like fighting it. So I found that to be interesting. I like the fight between Steel and Superman. That was done well. I like the idea that they're trying to get the Eradicator and Morgan Edge to become one. That would be cool because like even if they're not doing Death of Superman, it's still like a nice, interesting way of doing the Eradicator. Um, I also like the Jordan and Jonathan dynamic. It's surprising. I'm getting kind of tired of the General Lane always being like, I got to do what my country's supposed to, like to protect everyone, and everyone be like, "How dare you?" I'm like, "It's happened. We've gone through it. We didn't need to bring it back forward." Diggle, I saw him. I was like, okay. And then like the rest of the episode happened, and I was like, okay. So I'm not happy with the episode, but I'm also not angry with it. Like it wasn't a disappointment, but it also wasn't good for me. I'm right at I'm like at the average point.
Umar,
I'm not saying Diggle brought the average point. I'm just saying that it's
I
yeah.
I got a follow-up question for you. We don't normally do this with TV shows, but you got me feeling this one for this. What's your rating out of 10?
This one was a 5.5.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm putting mine at I'm putting mine at like a 7. That's where I'm feeling. Where it's like I liked it, didn't love it.
T.
Yeah, I'd probably give it a 7 too.
Okay, that's why I thought we were all kind of sitting. I just wanted to like get a feel based on what we're saying,
An
like
official
put it to a number. Yeah, because I'm wondering if I'm sounding like I had like a 9 on this. I'm like, nah, I didn't have no 9. I'm like, no. I just want to correct that. If anyone thinks like, oh, he really loved that episode. No. There were good moments, but
Is this was that the season finale or?
No. We have I think like 3 more episodes left.
Okay, good.
So T, like going back to something that you said, I'm wondering if Zod is now officially dead because if like or if it's like somewhere in the back of Superman's mind or something like that. Because if Superman beat him and the personality was infused in him, that means it's out of him now. So therefore, Zod no longer has a body, aka Zod is gone.
I feel like Zod will probably show up at some point in some way, shape, or form. Darcy can confirm this because he's watched Supergirl the most out of all of us, but I don't think we've seen Zod show up in the CW. Well, aside from the Smallville, I don't think we've seen Zod show up in the CW yet, right?
No, it wasn't in Supergirl. I mean, unless it was in this last season, I just totally ignored. But no, because it was always like Supergirls. I said that weird. Supergirls, villains and stuff like that. So that wouldn't even make sense for her to face off against him. I mean, you can, but you need Superman. I don't really want Zod to show up, and if you do, I want it to be a surprise later. I'm sorry. Like every time we get Superman, we gotta bring Zod up. I'm like, bro, like stop starting with Zod. Start with something else.
Yeah.
It's either Zod or Lex Luthor that we get the most of. I want to see some other characters.
Lex
like
is
Brainiac.
fine. Lex is
but
fine.
I feel man. I feel like he's played now, just like Zod. I think he's overused and like I want to see like other characters that we haven't seen done right yet, like Metallo or Brainiac or
Parasite,
Paris. Who's Parasite?
Toyman.
Toyman. Toyman. I know. Yeah.
Yeah. But we already have Toyman in the universe, because Toyman was heavily used within Supergirl, and there's like one of the main characters that was in Supergirl who was a good guy was the son of Toyman. It was a whole thing, but yeah, no, I feel you. I personally I would love to see Lex Luthor in like a season 4 when this Superman. We've seen how intelligent he can be, and he solved hard problems. And then he faces off against somebody who's more intelligent, and then it's like an actual battle of the wits, not a battle of power. But I'd want that written right.
Well, we
So that it's
technically
like
already have a
good.
Lex Luthor in this universe, right?
Yeah, I just mean like introduce. Oh yeah, we do have in this universe.
It's
Frig!
yeah. It's
No,
the,
no,
the,
no.
yeah.
No.
We already have that.
He
And
does
he's
a-
terrible.
He like he's doing a good job at doing what he can with what he has when he's the wrong casting. Like it's like
yeah.
it's like the guy who's playing Bruce Wayne in Titans. It's like
Oh God.
he's doing good for what he does. He's just wrong.
Agreed.
Yeah. Like bringing a knife to a gunfight. That knife's doing all it can, but it ain't a gun, and it's the long distance battle.
Maybe you can
Wait.
throw
Who,
it.
okay.
No.
Hold on. Who would you rather have though? Would you rather have the three and a half men Lex Luthor or Jesse Eisenberg?
3.5. What?
I'm gonna have to go 3.5 men on that one.
Really interesting. Okay.
I hate Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah, between the two, yeah, I would still go with 3.5 men's version. But yeah, God, love, have no, all of that, all of those two characters. Oh, it's so painful. Go on, just move on.
Okay, moving on. So the next topic is something that I have been dying to talk about since Wednesday. Spoilers for everyone who hasn't seen the season finale of Loki. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about it a lot. Technically speaking, our thumbnail was a spoiler, but you know it's Wednesday, and if you haven't watched it by now, fuck you. Anyway, so
Yeah, keep that energy.
okay, so we're gonna dive right in. Loki season finale came out Wednesday. We're gonna talk about it and tactics. I want to hear what you thought.
I mean, it was all right for me, man. To be honest, like I have no idea what the fuck any of these people are talking about right now. I'm watching it and I'm like, what is happening? Yeah, I was like, I don't know who this motherfucker is. I don't know who this motherfucker is. I don't know what you're talking about. Like everything kind of just went over my head. I'm like, okay, multiverse. I understand that. Okay, but everything else, I'm like, huh? So yeah, and then the end with him being I'm familiar with Kang the Conqueror. Like I've heard, and when I say familiar, I've heard the term uttered by someone before, but I don't know who he is. I don't know who the hell this guy is. I don't know why he's such a threat. The name kind of gives it away. He conquers shit, so I guess that's menacing. But I don't know anything beyond that. So
Okay,
I don't know.
But like leaving who he is aside, what did you think of the actual episode? Like what happened? Like especially like between the two Lokis.
I mean, that was cool, but like it's nothing I haven't seen before leading up to this point. Like they bicker, they fight, and the only thing that was different is they finally shared a kiss. I mean, I've seen plenty of people kiss. Like that's not. I don't know. It doesn't really do anything for me, man.
Okay, hold up. Here's another question. In comparison to other season finales from Falcon and Winter Soldier and WandaVision, how would you rate this season finale?
It's not worse than WandaVision.
It's like it went from a 5 to a 5.5.
But it's just like it's just the thing is, it was just a lot. It was just a lot of talking, and I feel like I would have enjoyed it more if I understood what the fuck they were talking about. But I had no clue. I'm like, okay, the acting is great. The acting is phenomenal. I just wish it's like I walked in on a conversation at the wrong time, and I have no context, and I'm just there. like enjoying these people bicker, but I'm like, okay, I don't get what's going on. Should I leave the room? Should I ask questions? 'Cause, like, I don't know what's
Yo,
happening.
bro, ask the questions right now. You would be doing
Okay,
me a
my
personal
first
favor.
okay. My first question is, what the fuck is happening? That's my first question. I like what are they talking about? Like, what is this leading up to? I thought I was gonna
Oh
see a
my god.
cameo or something, but it's like I have no context whatsoever.
Okay,
None.
good. This is actually really good for me because like there was an aspect of this that I felt that this episode was geared for fans more than actual like TV viewer fans,
One
like
hundred
comic book
percent.
fans. Okay, so what he was saying was he is not technically what we know as Kang the Conqueror from the comics.
I got that.
He
Okay.
is he is a variant who is essentially trying to prevent like Kang the Conqueror from arriving.
Mm-hmm.
Because he says that when he started, like when someone like him, like one of his variants, discovered in the 35th century the multiverse, they all started hanging out and Soul started sharing stuff, information, and technologies. But then a few of them tried to take over, and that's what led to a war. So he won it by finding like the smoke monster from the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
He found that was like a kind of like a result of what they were doing, like from the war, and used that to like shut everything down. So he then created the TVA to keep the timeline so that only he is the only variant of his kind.
Got it.
So he's saying that he's tired. He's been doing this for him for millions of years, and he's tired of it. He doesn't want to do it anymore. And so he has two options. One, he's been looking for successors, and he thinks it's Loki and Sylvie. And he's like, "Yo, you guys you can take over for me, and I can like peace out. But just make sure that my other variants don't get created."
Mm-hmm.
And then, or he's like, "You can kill me. The other variants come back. The war." And I end up right back here where I started because ultimately I'll win that fight, and then I'll just like beat everyone else, and I'll come back to where I am right now.
So okay, so I got all that. I understood all that, but as you were talking, I feel like I know what the issue is. So I don't remember if I saw it. Well, I mean, probably not because you always watch movies with Jimmy first. But I remember when I watched Avengers with you, the first Avengers movie, and at the end credit scene, they showed Thanos, right? And at that time, I had no idea who that was, and I remember your reaction, bro. You were like, "Oh my god!" Like you know what you do? You do that whole thing, right? Where you like get super animated and shit, right? I had no context of who that was, right? So like it didn't hit me. And then as like the movie started to progress and you start to see them interject Thanos into the movies here and there a little bit more, it started to kind of build my excitement level a little bit. I was like, oh, okay, like this guy seems like he's a big threat. Like I want to see where this goes. So I feel like it's the same thing with this, where it's like, based on what I've watched from this episode, he seems like he's gonna be a huge threat. Like maybe on a Thanos level or a little below that. I don't know.
He'll be
But
way beyond.
But so I'm not there yet. It was the same thing when we got the reveal in the other one that I can think off the top of my head is like when we watched Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and we saw Adam Warlock at the end. I'm like, I had no idea who the fuck that was. And then I remember, I think it was you again. You were, animated Umar got all crazy and hype about that shit, and I was just like, who is? I don't even see his face. What are you getting excited about? Like, who is that guy? It's just a coffin, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's Adam Warlock, and I was like, who the fuck is that? And then you're like, so it was like, I didn't understand it, but like, I guess we're gonna see him come up in future movies as well. So that's my issue right now. It's like I just don't know who this guy is, so it's not getting me hyped for it.
But okay, leaving that aside, but like watching the episode, watching what he was doing, and also like listening to what he was saying, and also like the predicament he put Loki and Sylvie in, and also what happened with them when they finally like came to blows. Didn't you have like feelings and thoughts about that?
I mean, he's cool, but like, yo, we just got off of Thanos, man. Like that guy, like we just saw what he was capable of, like what he did. was like groundbreaking, earth shattering. He made motherfuckers disappear. Like this guy is just phasing and shit, and then like manipulating people. Like we've seen that. Like there's
But
nothing
he
new.
also, but the Infinity Stones mean nothing to him.
Okay, yeah, I get that, but it's like I want to see what you do. Like, don't talk about it, be about it. And he's not showing me anything yet. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm not hyped for anything until I see it. Like, I can't. I don't know, man. I just can't. I don't know the levity of what this guy can bring to the table in terms of destruction and like.
But leaving all that aside, what about he was doing right then and there? Like he was fucking with them, and also at the same time, he gave them like a choice. Like, what would you have done in that choice? Would you have fucking killed him, or would you have taken over?
I mean, yeah, I probably would have done what actual Loki did, and try to stop that shit. Because I'm like, yo, if I can't even like if you're like phasing and doing all this shit and like what's gonna happen before it happens. I mean, it's hard though because it was like he was talking that shit and he was like very manipulative and like you're like do I trust him? Because it's like I don't even trust myself like in more ways than one because but like yeah I don't know what I would have done. I don't know, man.
Well,
it
I'm
was
going
a
to come
tough
back to
choice.
you on this one because like, I want to get Darcy's opinion, but I'm going to come back to you on this one.
Yeah. My bad, Darcy. Do your thing, man.
Yo, first off, I'm tired just from that conversation alone. And I wasn't even talking. Yo, I'm the opposite of tactics here. I love the episode. It did some things for me. So I've seen Kang. I feel like once in one of the Marvel TV animated shows that I watched at some point, but I don't really remember anything about him. I think I found interesting right at the gate with Jonathan Marshall was his last name, I think. Majors. I knew it was something like that. It was something like military sounding. Jonathan Majors is that like his presence was so the opposite of what I was anticipating because I feel like I remember the other Kang being like an omnipotent god type voice, right? Like a Thanos type voice, like coming in the room like you mean nothing to me. You are all irrelevant. That kind of like vibe.
Yeah.
And he came in, he was like, "What's up, guys?" And I was like, "What?" And I was just like, that was not what I was anticipating because Umar, I was talking to you. I was like, it's and maybe it was in the podcast. Can't remember which one, but I'm like, Kang's probably going to be the one. Like they cast him, they released the information about it. He's not working in WB or HBO anymore. He's coming this episode. Like that's what they're doing, and I was right on that call. But I really liked the dialogue that they had. The Loki and Sylvia stuff was like, yo, that was tough. But yo, Sylvia just fucked up the MCU. My bad. Sylvie just fucked up the MCU for every little bit of. So Sylvie just opened up the floodgate that literally now any actor in the MCU can come back without explanation. Any of them. Tony Stark can come back without explanation because there's so much divergence, and Loki comes out at the very end of the episode. They don't even recognize him. And at first I was thinking, wow, did they rewrite time? No, he landed in a different universe. They don't know who he is. That's not the Loki they have if they have a Loki. Maybe they don't even have a Loki in that universe. He just showed up, right? Because that's the door he got pushed through. There's just so much opportunity here. It's got me so thinking like, wow, yeah, Spider-Man, yeah, we gonna see all three of those Spider-Men. Like they are all crossing over. And the fact that like what is it? Doctor Strange is gonna be a horror film. Like, and the tone that they had, the musical tone and score that they had in this was dark and it had this like interesting vibe. One thing that caught me about the music in this, and you know me, I pay attention to the scores.
Yeah.
The whole time, this score was like, okay, so this is Loki's score, and I was thinking that throughout the whole show, but it never quite said to me, this is what Loki sounds like, and I realized it wasn't Loki's score, it was Kang's score. We were listening to the music for Kang the entire time. It was the music of the multiverse. And then when we got to the end, the music kind of expanded out when we saw Kang. Because I make music, I think a little bit more about it. But like as they were playing it up, they added more like a bigger part of the motif, which is like the musical phrasing that you use that repeats, like, you know, what is the Batman sound, what is the Superman sound, that thing that repeats, you always remember. That there was, like, they added more to that around it when Kang showed up, and I was like, this is the multiverse sound, which I think we'll see more of that sound show up in other movies. But yeah, there's just so much that they blew up. I love Jonathan Mather's performance, and I'm super excited to see him come in because I know he's going to do the omnipotent God version of it, and it's going to be very interesting to see him come in because he's got that giant presence that he's going to come in and he's going to have that, like, you guys are irrelevant. And his voice is going to be deep and it's going to freak the shit out of you. And you're going to have these two versions of like fun loving and like, you know, I walk over planets with my baby toe. It's going to be, I don't know. I'm hyped for what's coming. I don't know. I'm really, really up on this. Like I was watching a video and someone says like, yeah, this whole episode was exposition, and somehow I was on the edge of my seat.
Yeah.
And that's how I was feeling. It's like, yeah, this is a lot of talking, but they opened up the MCU. Like, how do you not have seen this show, and how are the rest of the movies going to make sense? Like, how people could be like, sorry, why are there 3 Spider-Mans? What is this multiverse? I wouldn't even. You know what? I wouldn't even be surprised. I'm gonna put like $5 on this for this. I wouldn't even be surprised if the Spider-Man, what's it? Oh my god, I can't think of the name right now. The Spider-Man with the multiverse movie that recently just came out, Miles Morales shows up, the cartoon version. I wouldn't even be surprised if they cameo the cartoon into the show somehow, and you're like, huh? And then just like pass through it, like it's just like a thing, because they just broke the entire MCU wide open with this. So yeah, Umar, you go, bro.
Okay. All right. So first on, I'm gonna hear out to our homegirl Ron. She's like, this episode is the in for X-Men and Fantastic Four. 100%.
100%.
Okay. So my thoughts on the episode was I fucking loved it. I was like you were saying, being on the edge of your seat. Like literally, the moment he opened the doors opened, I was like, oh my god, it's Jonathan Majors. Then the rest of the episode happened. And I'm like, I don't think he's Kang, or he's pre-Kang, or like what's going on over here? And then like they did such a brilliant thing where it's like, yes, it's who you thought was going to show up at the end, but not the way you expected him to, because it's Kang's variant, and he was trying to prevent Kang from showing up. So now we're going to get Kang, and that was entirely. And the fact that this guy just didn't give a fuck. He was like, yo, if you won't kill me, oh, I got killed. All right, I'll see you later. And you're just like, Jonathan Majors did a phenomenal job. I was blown away by his acting. And I've been reading up on like what it was like for everyone else, because he literally came at the last week of filming just before they wrapped to do this episode.
Damn.
And Tom Hiddleston and like Sophia DiMartino, they were saying they had spent so much time with everybody else that when they did this, they were like, it's almost like he made the series his own. And I was like, yeah, he really, really fucking did. And okay, so like in terms of like, I felt that Marvel finally stuck the landing. This is a season finale, not a series finale, which gave them a little bit of leeway because it didn't have to wrap up everything. It just wrapped up enough. And yeah, the expositions, it was like me at a buffet just eating every bit of it. I was like, yes, give me more. And like Jonathan Majors gave exposition for like 20 minutes, and like Sophia DiMartino and Tom Hiddleston were just like acting like the audience members, but also like giving in their own stuff, and all three of them were just magnetically awesome. I was here for all of it. And then when the fight breaks out between Sylvie and Loki, I was it was a sad fight. I loved watching it. It was really well choreographed. It felt like you were watching something like a play, like a sword fight on like a stage, but it was full of emotions, and the lines were fantastic. Like the fact that he was like, "You can trust, and I can't be trusted." I was like,
Oof.
"Oh," and
Yeah.
then also at the same time, like it makes sense because Kang, or I should say, this variant is still a dictator. He's still like he is in charge of a dogmatic, a determinism preventing free will, and he is destroying free will because he believes free will lead to a much worse fate than the one that he's created. And and like Loki, who has just, I guess you could say, overcome the personality that made him a wannabe despot or wannabe dictator. Of course, he would side with him, like just on like an intellectual level. He's like, no, no. If the like, I believe him because he's someone like him, and he's like, he has a point. And if things are worse, then we should probably have something like set up. But also, Sylvie has a point because she's like the indoctrined, like she has become the vengeful free will fighter. Instead of a freedom fighter, she's a free will fighter. And she's like, no, we're not going to stop people from thinking. We're not going to stop people from being. And I'm especially not from this guy. And you want a throne. And so, of course, this is her entire life has been ruined. Loki's like life just got ruined. So of course it's going to end up this way. And like I felt kind of weird when they made out, but at the same time, it was sad to see that Loki finally said he loved somebody, even though it was himself, and got betrayed by himself. And Loki is also overpowered by himself and also outmaneuvered by himself. So and yeah, and also to see that when Sylvie killed the variant, it was a hollow victory. She didn't get what she wanted, and then the universe broke.
Yeah.
Like everything happened.
Yeah. That she was like, I gotta do this. I have to do this. I have to do this. Does it? It's like, I fucked up.
Yeah.
That didn't feel good at all. Everything's way worse for a lot of people, like everybody. And I don't think this is gonna go well. You know what also is opened up here? When I said every character can come back, also every character can be recast
Yeah.
without explanation. Like you could bring Tony Stark back as a completely different actor at a different age.
A completely and honestly, I feel like kind of what you're saying is that this action, like this episode, is like Thanos snap level, where
Yeah,
it just changes everything. And like, unlike with Thanos the snap, where that like depresses you to no end, this
I didn't feel that.
excites my imagination. Where are we gonna go with this? What can be done? This is like phase 4 and phase 5, and holy shit! Look, they did it in such a fantastic way. So like, yeah, tactics. I see what you're saying, but like, to be honest, when it comes to Kang, I'm not that well versed with him. I know he's a time traveler.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
I'm not really that well versed with him. I know he's a time traveler. I've read like a couple of issues in my entire life that have hit it. I've never seen him in the cartoons. He is known to me as a very intelligent and very powerful time traveler who has a lot of knowledge, and he has many variants. One of them is a mortis. Another one is like an Egyptian. I can't remember his name. I think Ramatut or something like that. And like it just. Oh, actually, yeah. Homegirl Ron is talking about like bring back Black Widow.
yes, my
can.
girl,
You can.
yes.
Actually, that way we can finally get like the franchise to continue, and we can finally see what like. Anyway, uh, I just this episode was like I have been thinking nonstop about this. I've like started going back between like a philosophy, articles discussing agency and determinism, free will versus a dogmatic fatalism, and I just like that's stuff is exciting me. Then the ideas of where this can lead for the MCU. Yo, seeing Tom Hiddleston brokenhearted, and then on top of which finding out that like, the one thing I will say the weak part of this episode was oddly enough Owen Wilson. They did him kind of dirty in this episode. Like
Yeah,
Him and Ravana, they didn't have a very strong end to their thing.
yo, bro, you just called Rwanda?
I know, I know. I was hoping no one
Yo,
noticed that.
not racist at all. It's called a black chick Rwanda. Anyways, I know, but no, I will say that yeah, Owen Wilson was the weaker actor in this, and I feel like ever since he walked off the screen in the last episode, it's just but whatever. You know, it's not his fault. I actually want to ask you a question, but I'm gonna answer my version of it first. Is that I want to say in terms of like performances, it goes John, then Tom Hiddleston, Owen Wilson, Sylvie's actor. I forget her. I don't remember her real name. And then like kind of just everybody else for me, right?
Yeah.
Like like John came in and took number one.
Yeah.
And like you said, he took it over like it was his own series, but he had to come with it like that because that's what his character was demanding. It's fantastic. You do it like just come in on the spot. I feel like there's it's a level of improving of his acting, but two, I almost feel like it's like he probably just scheduling is why he came at the last minute. But I wouldn't even be surprised if he came in at the end and it was simply because he's like part of his preparation was like he kind of built up what he was going to do, and then it was like he couldn't have anybody ready for it. You know, like he was just gonna come in there and he was gonna take them away, and
Yeah.
peace out.
So T, okay, coming back to you. I'm not picking on you, man. I'm not picking on you. I just like I want to know, man. I want to know. So like, did you not get like? I know in previous episodes I've been bringing up free will and determinism and like a predestination and all that sort of stuff. Did you get any of that from this episode or not?
Yeah, I mean a little bit. I mean, because that's ultimately what they were fighting for, right? Like free will, or that was one of the things that she had said in regards to what she was. I don't know, man. I like it. It just didn't do it for me, man. I just didn't. It didn't give me predestination vibes. Like it didn't make me like think too deep about it. And I think maybe because I wasn't primed to think like that, I thought it was gonna lead to something completely different. So like when you told me about predestination, you didn't really give me any context, and like I kind of went in not knowing what to expect. You just told me, yeah, there's like a twist upon a twist upon a twist. So I went in and I was like completely lost. I had no idea what was going on. When I watched it the second time, I had a broader perspective on it, and I was a lot more focused on those things because I was actually looking for it now, and like I'm like, okay, let me kind of view this episode or view this movie from a different lens. And I think if I rewatch this episode again or the entire series again, I can see it from a different lens because now that I know kind of what to expect, I can look at it differently and pick on some of the like little nuances that you're looking at. So maybe I might do that, and then we can speak to the more philosophical point of view from this episode. But as of right now, I was just kind of like, I don't know, man.
Because honestly, like I found like the philosophical aspects, they would always take over for me. Especially like for this one, it's because like the first episode, the first two episodes, Loki is adamant that he is in control of his own free will, that he determines his own fate. And to have him turn and support the person that defines fatalism in the sense that it like everything happens for a reason and it's his reason. And Loki is now defending that after going through all this growth as a character also.
I think for
That's
me,
what I
it's
found.
like as I'm watching this, it's like because the world is so, I guess for lack of a better word, like fantastical. It's like kind of like it's kind of out there. It's hard for me to approach it from a grounded mindset and look at it from that perspective. Like with certain like with again with Predestination or like movies like The Matrix, yeah, they're like there's obviously an element of like sci-fi there, and it's like, you know, but it still comes out, it's still presented in a way that's very grounded. It almost feels like within a couple of years this shit could actually happen, right? And so it it changes my level of thinking in terms of my approach when I'm watching like a movie like that versus something like this where it's like, okay, we're dealing with like aliens and like all the like it's just it kind of takes me to a different place where it's like, okay, like I gotta suspend my disbelief a little bit and understand that this shit isn't real. So the lines sometimes get blurred in terms of like where my mind goes, and like do I think that deep about it, or do I just remember that this is just a movie? It's a movie. It's a comic book movie, right?
Yeah.
And especially with stuff like Loki, like at least with like Captain America, again, it's very grounded. It like the world that they're building is somewhat grounded. It's not it's a lot more believable in terms of, oh yeah, this shit could actually happen versus like Loki or like Thor, things like that, where it's kind of like, okay, like I'm never gonna see some shit like this in my lifetime, kind of thing, right? So it's like don't even bother thinking about like the logic behind it or whatever, right? But again, like I said, I think I need to watch this a second time, and like now that I know what to expect, there's not that anticipation for that. There's not an anticipation that I have for something that extravagant to happen. I can just watch it with a different lens, kind of thing.
All right. Well, then here's a question for you. That I feel like I was thinking, like, oh, I'm gonna ask this to Tactics and Darcy, but like I was more interested to see what you have, because you are a little bit more reserved when it comes to the Loki Thor like franchise. So let's say you discover that there is a god, and I use like not the one who basically created all life, but the one who is basically in charge of where it's going. And God came to you and says, "I want you to be my successor." What would you say?
Fuck. Okay, so that's a question. That's a question. Okay, it's
Darcy,
kind
I'm
of like
coming to you
Bruce.
after this one.
It's kind of like Bruce Almighty. Like that's exactly what the scenario was with that movie.
But in the sense of like, it's not meant for lesson. It's meant for you to take over like legitimately, and also that like,
So it's a permanent position. Like I'm God basically.
especially in this episode, like this guy's like, I will tell like you will be able to take over. Like I'm done, you guys take over. But like you guys need to know what's like the thing that like you are going to find out what, in a way, religion is trying to prevent from the human nature. So
Well,
would you want that responsibility?
I think if I was presented with that responsibility, the first question I have is like, yo, are you sure? Like, are you sure? Cause like, I mean, I'm glad to be here and everything, you know, but I don't know if you want me for the job. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm late sometimes. I like to sleep in. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, you know, I take long lunch breaks. Like, I don't know, man. Like, if you want to give me that responsibility, that's deep, bro. Yeah, I don't know if I'd want. I mean, so I guess in theory, like when you take on that responsibility, you get like you basically unlock all the knowledge of the universe, right? You know everything. You know which
You know all
religion.
that you know all that is necessary for that role. That doesn't mean that you know everything.
I mean, but isn't God all knowing?
But this technically isn't a god. This is a like an air quotes version. This is essentially who this.
So,
variant
oh,
is.
okay. So if I'm in this particular position, okay, man, I don't know. I don't.
All right, I'm gonna give you a couple minutes, and I'll pass it off. Oh, you got an answer.
No, it's just because it's like my only other alternative is to like let the universe pretty much crumble. It's like, what kind of fucking shitty ass option is that? Like, it's almost like I have to take the job.
Not necessarily. He could just stay in the job, and you could say no thanks.
Oh, right. Because then the other option is like to kill. Okay, yeah. But then, like, where do I go? Like, am I just chilling as a variant now? Like, do I like not exist?
That is
Again,
the
yo,
question.
what kind of fucking shitty option? So I gotta take the job then. Like, it's either I kill this motherfucker, I cease to exist, or I take a job that I'm not at all qualified for. What the fuck? Like, that's okay. I guess I'm taking the job then. That's my answer.
Okay. Darcy?
So between those three options, right?
Or unless you know a fourth option.
Yo, if he finds a good loophole, I'm jumping on that. Cause yo,
Yo, I'm gonna call it mistime the clock here and see.
Yo, Miss Minutes, get me out,
Hey,
man.
Miss, can we talk about that deal? We sit down for some negotiations. I'm saying right here,
It's like, I'll take that. I'll take that one.
I might know a good Mr. Minutes. Let's get into this dialogue, okay? Let's see what we can work out, okay? It's kind of like Mr. Potato Head, but a little more sexy. Honestly, choosing between taking the job and just sitting there and doing nothing, like just trying to like manipulate the behind the scenes thing. The do not kill him but not take the job option was what? Be a variant that can only live a specific life, or is it just get erased from the universe?
That is an unknown. You have to accept the fact that that is an unknown.
I kind of feel like I'd want to go down that road of not killing him because I don't think I have any desire to kill him. There's no need for me, but I feel like I'd rather take that road of like not killing him and just letting me take me down whichever path that is, unless he says you're gonna die. Then like I'm gonna race you. Then I'm probably have to slide back to killing him. Because I don't know. For me, like at the end of the day, I want to be able to decide what I'm doing with my life, and having to take his job and do nothing, like essentially do nothing, because it looks like it's a boring job, this omnipotent job. So I'd want to like either screw everything up and be able to do stuff for myself, or screw nothing up and be more limited but do stuff for myself.
So to answer the question for myself, honestly,
Nah, man, lie.
I'm honestly, I would probably go down Sylvie's track, to be honest. I probably would have killed him because, like, I know. Let's say, for example, I'm coming here from Loki's perspective, but not Sylvie's, and given the same situation, I would still consider killing him as the option because I don't consider him to be a god. I consider him to be someone who has a great deal of power and knowledge, but is using it for his own ends. And he is saying people are worse. I kind of would have taken the fact that, like, I wouldn't believe him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd kill him if it meant more movies, which is the case. So yeah.
Yo, man, that's why the episode was so good. More movies, different kind of movies,
Exactly.
different characters, different series. All kinds of options are available now.
The doors are open, and I cannot wait. And also, so just some news: Loki is going to be in Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
Oh,
makes
shit.
sense.
Yeah, they've actually said that like that's going to happen. Also, well, the director for this season is not coming back, so that I hope that's not going to mess up season 2. I'm glad there's a season 2.
Why isn't he coming back? Did he say?
She I think is going to she's going somewhere else. I think she's got another job because apparently she did a really good job with this. I think she's going to. No. Sorry, that's WandaVision's director is going to do the new Star Trek movie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're not doing a second season of WandaVision, right?
No, I'm.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry. You don't have to watch that season 2.
Yeah, I'm not sitting through that again.
Yeah. The only thing that I'm curious about is like besides all the opportunities we have here in terms of new content, but Thanos was this big thing, and I feel like all this is gonna wrap back around to Kang the Conqueror, right? what's the thing after Kang the Conqueror? Like, what's the next 5, 10, 8-year vision? Like we're like it's gonna take us like 4 years to get to this. Oh my god, so many good things, man. So many good things. The
Doctor
future
Doom,
for
bro. I want to
Marvel
see Doctor
looks
Doom.
great.
Doctor Doom is going to be the big one, and Doctor Doom with the X-Men, with Apocalypse and Galactus.
Oh, so
we-
big,
Apocalypse
so
done right.
big.
Apocalypse done
Apocalypse
right.
done right,
Apocalypse
yeah.
done
Oh
right.
yeah. Now I have one follow-up question to you guys,
Yeah.
and this is gonna be the last question. This is gonna be the question of the day. By the time the MCU completes Kang, and then gets into the Doom, Doom is the thing with Apocalypse and X-Men and Fantastic Four and everything, and we're like, 55, and this stuff is amazing. Do you think that DC will have its shit together?
Oh man.
Oh
Yo, we can just end the show right there, yo.
yeah, that question can't be answered because those.
Yo, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. This has been
Peace,
another
y'all.
edition of the Geeky Bros podcast. I'm your boy Tactics.
Yo, it's just Darcy here.
And this is Big Geek Umar. Please like and subscribe and live long and prosper, y'all.